The world knows Xiao Zhan as the radiant actor, the dazzling star who can turn any stage into a universe of light. But behind the perfect smile, behind the carefully staged photos, lies a man who yearns for silence, peace, and moments untouched by the chaos of fame. And hidden away outside Beijing, far from flashing cameras and restless crowds, exists a secret retreat where Xiao Zhan disappears into the folds of quiet nature, a hideaway known only to a few, yet whispered about in hushed tones among those who have crossed paths with him. The story of this hideaway is not just about a house nestled among mountains, but about Xiao Zhan himself, his solitude, his whispers to the wind, his desperate need for normalcy, and the haunting beauty of a life caught between light and shadow. It begins on the road out of Beijing. The city fades into sprawling suburbs, then into winding roads carved into mountainsides. The air grows colder, thinner, carrying with it the scent of pine and wildflowers. Few would ever imagine that beyond this road lies a place touched by Xiao Zhan's presence. Hidden among the trees, almost invisible to outsiders, is a modest wooden villa overlooking a serene lake. Its walls are painted in earth tones, blending seamlessly into the landscape as though nature itself has claimed it. On nights when the city screams with paparazzi lenses and fan gatherings, Xiao Zhan slips into this retreat. His car arrives quietly under cover of darkness, headlights dimmed, windows tinted. No entourage, no photographers, only him and the driver who knows this road better than anyone. The house awaits like a faithful guardian, its windows glowing faintly, the reflection shimmering across the still waters of the lake. Inside, the world slows down. There are no flashing phones, no scripts piled on coffee tables, no stylists or managers rushing about. Instead, a simple living room breathes warmth, wooden shelves filled with books, sketches pinned on the wall, and the faint smell of green tea lingering in the air. This is where Xiao Zhan drops the weight of stardom. He trades designer jackets for loose linen shirts, stage makeup for bare skin, and red carpets for barefoot steps across creaking wooden floors. But what makes this hideaway extraordinary is not just its seclusion. It is the way Xiao Zhan inhabits it. Imagine him standing at dawn, watching the mist rise over the lake, his breath clouding in the cold morning air. His face, often guarded before cameras, softens here unguarded, vulnerable, almost boyish. He sketches in silence, letting his pencil trace lines of trees and mountains onto worn paper. Sometimes, he hums melodies not yet released, soft notes that echo against the walls before fading into the forest beyond. Locals in nearby villages have spotted him, though never with certainty. An old fisherman swears he once saw Xiao Zhan sitting on the dock, feeding crumbs of bread to the fish while humming under his breath. Another recalls a tall, slim figure helping an elderly woman carry baskets across a narrow bridge, his cap pulled low, his mask hiding most of his face, yet the kindness in his eyes unmistakable. They never speak loudly of it. Perhaps out of respect, perhaps because they fear the magic of such a secret would vanish if too many knew. But the most breathtaking part of Xiao Zhan's escape lies in the nights he spends there. The Beijing sky is often drowned by city lights, but here outside the chaos, the stars return in thousands, shimmering above the lake like scattered jewels. On these nights, Xiao Zhan is said to sit outside on the balcony, a single lantern glowing beside him, while he gazes upward in silence. Some say he whispers lines to himself, as if rehearsing for a role only the heavens are meant to hear. Others believe he speaks to his younger self, to the boy who once dreamed of painting and music long before fame claimed him. And sometimes, just sometimes, he doesn't sit alone. Whispers suggest that close friends, perhaps even those whose names the media would not dare link with his, have joined him there. They cook simple meals together, laugh softly around the fireplace, and share stories that no journalist will ever publish. One tale speaks of Xiao Zhan bringing a guitar to the lake's edge, strumming under the moonlight while a close companion quietly joined in with a low harmony. The sound carried across the water like a spell, vanishing into the forest yet echoing in the memory of anyone lucky enough to overhear. But there's another layer to this hideaway, one that makes it even more mysterious. Not long ago, rumors began to surface of a letter found tucked inside a guestbook at a small village teahouse not far from the retreat. The handwriting was delicate, and though unsigned, many swore it belonged to Xiao Zhan. The letter spoke of peace, of the comfort of anonymity, of the joy of finding oneself in silence when the world becomes too loud. Whether true or simply a romantic fabrication, it spread like wildfire among fans, adding to the legend of the Hideaway. Of course, for Xiao Zhan, this place is not just an escape. It is a shield. The entertainment industry is relentless, its claws sharp, its shadows heavy. Fame has often threatened to consume him, dragging him into storms of controversy and pressure. Here, in this hidden corner of the world, he reclaims what was almost lost: his sanity, his humanity, his freedom. The house itself seems to absorb his secrets. The walls hold onto laughter, onto tears shed in solitude, onto the midnight scribbles of lyrics and sketches abandoned before completion. Every object has meaning: the chipped ceramic mug he insists on using for tea, the guitar leaning against the wall, the stack of blank canvases waiting for colors he has not yet had time to paint. This is not just a retreat. It is the home of the person Xiao Zhan truly is, away from expectations. There are moments when the outside world nearly intrudes. A drone once buzzed overhead, its faint hum breaking the stillness. Xiao Zhan disappeared indoors, curtains drawn, the magic threatened by technology's unblinking eye. Another time, a group of eager fans followed whispers and reached the edge of the lake, only to find nothing, no sign of him, only rippling water and the distant cry of an owl. The house remained hidden, as though nature itself protected it from intrusion. But the most haunting story connected to the Hideaway comes from a stormy night 2 winters ago. The rain was relentless, the lake swelling dangerously close to its banks. Power lines flickered, and the forest groaned under the wind. Locals say that in the dead of night, they saw lights flickering from the villa, music playing faintly, as though Xiao Zhan refused to surrender to the storm. The image of him alone, defying nature's chaos with music and light, became almost mythical. Some still whisper that night changed him, grounding him in a way no award or performance ever could. As dawn breaks after such nights, the villa returns to its quiet rhythm. Xiao Zhan makes tea, steps outside with a blanket draped over his shoulders, and watches the sunlight break through the trees. Here, he is not the actor beloved by millions. He is simply a man, breathing, existing, holding on to the small joys that fame nearly took away. For fans, the idea of Xiao Zhan having such a sanctuary is both comforting and heartbreaking. Comforting, because it means he has a place where he can truly rest. Heartbreaking, because it exists in secrecy, untouchable, unreachable, always on the edge of myth. Yet perhaps that is the beauty of it, that the world will never fully know the details, only fragments, whispers, and stories painted with equal parts truth and imagination. And maybe that is exactly how Xiao Zhan wants it. Because the secret hideaway outside Beijing is not just about escape, it is about survival. It is about a star refusing to let the weight of fame crush the soul of the man beneath. It is about finding light in darkness, peace in chaos, and silence in a world that never stops demanding. So the next time Xiao Zhan steps onto a stage, radiant under blinding lights, remember this: somewhere beyond Beijing, tucked between trees and a quiet lake, is a place where he becomes human again. A place untouched by fame. A place that belongs to him alone. And it will remain that way, as secret, as sacred, as untouchable as the stars he gazes at from his balcony. The first glimpse of Xiao Zhan's secret retreat outside Beijing feels almost like stepping into a different dimension. A world where the air carries no weight of flashing cameras, no constant hum of social media chatter, no urgent voices demanding his time. Instead, there is silence, pure, golden silence. It wraps around the hideaway like a second skin, protecting the man who lives within it. When Xiao Zhan arrives, the world outside ceases to exist. He steps out of his car, sometimes late at night when the moon hangs heavy, and he inhales the mountain air as if it were his first real breath in weeks. The gravel crunches beneath his shoes, the wooden door creaks softly as he enters, and in that instant, the mask of celebrity falls away. One of the most striking images of this secret place is the view from the balcony. Stretching out beyond the villa is a glassy lake, its surface so still it mirrors the stars with perfect clarity. On quiet nights, Xiao Zhan often sits there with a blanket wrapped around his shoulders, sipping tea from a chipped ceramic cup. The tea is always the same, jasmine, light and calming, brewed carefully, almost ritualistically. Sometimes he watches the water until dawn breaks, the soft glow of sunlight melting the shadows across the forest. Inside, the house is filled with traces of him, subtle, intimate touches that fans could only dream of witnessing. A half-finished sketch left open on the table, delicate lines forming the outline of mountains. A guitar leaning against the wall, its strings slightly worn from long nights of strumming. A notebook filled with lyrics and thoughts, some crossed out, some circled, as though he's in constant dialogue with himself. It is here that Xiao Zhan's creativity breathes most freely, away from the expectations of an industry that demands perfection at every turn. But perhaps the most mind-blowing part of this hideaway is how it seems to reflect Xiao Zhan's state of mind. On nights when his heart feels heavy, the villa is filled with shadows, curtains drawn, lights dimmed, and the air quiet except for the sound of rain tapping against the glass. On brighter days, the doors are wide open, the breeze carries laughter through the rooms, and sunlight dances across the wooden floors. The hideaway becomes an extension of him, shifting, breathing, alive. Locals tell stories that add to the mystery. One claims to have seen Xiao Zhan walking barefoot across the grass one misty morning, a sketchbook tucked under his arm. Another swears they heard faint singing drifting from the lake's edge, a voice so clear and haunting that it silenced the birds. They never approach. They only watch from a respectful distance, as though afraid that getting too close would break the spell. One unforgettable night remains etched in local memory. It was winter, snow falling thick and heavy, blanketing the forest in silence. A villager collecting firewood near the lake saw something extraordinary. Xiao Zhan, dressed in a simple black coat, standing in the falling snow, holding a lantern in his hand. He was completely still, gazing at the frozen surface of the lake, as though searching for answers hidden beneath the ice. The villager swore it was the most surreal sight they had ever witnessed, like seeing a figure step out of a painting. To this day, they whisper about it as though it were a dream. And yet, the hideaway is not just a place of quiet, it is also a place of resilience. Fame has brought storms into Xiao Zhan's life, storms of criticism, of betrayal, of pressure no ordinary person could withstand. But here, among the trees and the still waters, he finds the strength to rebuild. He meditates by the lake, his eyes closed, the sound of flowing water grounding him. He writes letters he may never send, pouring emotions onto paper simply to release them. He paints sunsets in vivid oranges and reds, as though capturing fleeting moments before they vanish. There is also a rumor, one that fans have clung to, that Xiao Zhan sometimes brings company to the hideaway. A trusted friend, a confidant, perhaps someone who understands the weight he carries. On such nights, the villa glows with more than lamplight, it glows with laughter, with the warmth of companionship. They cook simple meals together, dumplings, noodles, dishes far removed from glamorous banquets. The smell of garlic and ginger fills the kitchen, blending with the soft sound of music playing in the background. For once, Xiao Zhan is not the star, but simply a man enjoying the intimacy of shared silence and quiet joy. But even when alone, he fills the house with life. He plays music, sometimes soft piano pieces, sometimes guitar chords that echo against the wooden walls. He sketches endlessly, lines flowing from his hand in a rhythm that feels almost therapeutic. Sometimes he simply sits in silence, letting the sound of the forest, crickets, owls, the rustle of wind wash over him. In those moments, he becomes invisible to the world, and yet more alive than ever. One cannot help but imagine what goes through his mind as he sits under the stars, his gaze fixed on the heavens. Does he think of his fans, the millions who adore him yet cannot touch this hidden corner of his life? Does he think of the boy he once was, sketching and dreaming before fame arrived? Or does he think of the future, wondering how long he can hold on to this fragile sanctuary before the outside world discovers it? The truth is, the hideaway is more than just a retreat. It is a sanctuary where Xiao Zhan finds himself again and again. It is the one place where he does not have to be perfect, where he can fail, falter, and rise again without the judgment of millions watching. It is where the man and the myth separate, allowing him to breathe freely, if only for a while. And maybe that is what makes this story so powerful, that somewhere outside Beijing, in a villa by a lake surrounded by forest, one of China's brightest stars becomes just a man. A man who laughs, who sketches, who plays guitar under the stars, who stands in the snow holding a lantern as though carrying light into the darkness. The hideaway is not just his escape. It is his salvation. And though the world may never see it fully, its existence is a reminder that behind every star lies a human being who needs silence, who needs healing, who needs a place to simply be. And for Xiao Zhan, that place will forever be the secret hideaway outside Beijing. If you enjoyed this journey into Xiao Zhan's secret world, don't forget to like, share, comment your thoughts, and subscribe for more mind-blowing stories you won't want to miss.